Hey guys, so happy new year. And in this new year, I'm sure a lot of you are setting goals. Even if you don't get into the whole New Year's resolutions thing, you probably still have some goals in mind for things you want to do this year. And this is why you need this video. You need to watch it right now because the way you talk to yourself really matters in your ability to accomplish your goals and to be motivated to do the things that you actually want to do. Okay, so what happens to most of us, and I see this in my clients, it's really common, a lot of us really self-terrorize ourselves in our own heads. The way we talk to ourselves is so much more harsh than the way we talk to other people. We would never dream of talking to another human the way we talk to ourselves in our own heads. And we do this because we think that if we stop this negative self-talk, if we stop kind of lashing ourselves in our own minds, that we will be lazy, we will be unmotivated, and we will not get anything done. The thing is that the science disproves all of this.
Science rules.
And the science on this is really good. The main researcher on this topic is Kristin Neff, and this topic is called self-compassion. And now before you click out because you think I'm like a West Coast liberal hippie that's preaching, just self-acceptance for the sake of it, stay on. I will show you all kinds of research that showcases that actually talking to yourself in a compassionate, kind way in your head will lead to more motivation, more goal achievement, and just also feeling better. And by doing this, you'll actually be able to have more longevity in your productivity, in your work, in anything that you're trying to do, because negative self-talk leads to a lot of burnout, while self-compassion allows you to have more resilience. Okay, so self-compassion is defined as having three main components, and those are self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. So the first one, self-kindness, is fairly obvious. It's mostly just treating ourselves with kindness when we talk to ourselves instead of critical self-judgment. It means being patient and empathetic with ourselves when we, maybe feel tired one day, or if we are being a little bit slower on a task than we thought we would be. Maybe we didn't answer all the emails today. And self-kindness means being really kind in your thoughts to yourself when you think about that. So say you didn't answer all your emails today. You don't make it mean that, you're like this bad person or that you're letting the team down. You say, I kind of had a long day. I, will do a good job later. I am, doing as the best I can. All right, the second component is common humanity. So a lot of times when we feel like we're not doing well or we're being self-critical to ourselves, we think that we're like the only person in the world that this is happening to. And like everyone else out there is doing this amazing job answering their emails, and we're like the one lone person that's just like completely like an email failure. And this is so untrue that it's crazy that we even think this, but this is a common cognitive distortion, and really the way to ease this distortion is to think about kind of how you are similar to other people instead of thinking about how you are different. So really think about how other people are struggling with their emails too. They have too many messages, it's just too much, they feel overwhelmed as well. This is a common thing, and the fact that your experiencing it as well makes you more human. It makes you more kind of connected to the larger part of humanity. Okay, and the third component is mindfulness, which obviously sounds the most woo-woo, but bear with me. So the reason that the third component is mindfulness is because we actually don't often notice that we're chastising ourselves in our heads and that we're suffering for it. We often are so focused on being the critic and being so kind of focused on, using that negative self-talk to motivate, that we actually don't notice how painful it is, and we're not really aware of it. And that pain, it's in there, it's deep down in there, and it makes you feel bad. And at the end of the day, you might feel, really tired. You might feel just kind of in a really low mood, and you might not understand why, but it is because you've been essentially terrorizing yourself in your own head the entire day. And of course you feel tired. I mean, feeling low, the whole point of low moods is that they're low, right? Negative emotions often do make us sometimes feel tired. It's really actually important to really take a moment and see the suffering that is happening when you talk to yourself in such a negative way, because in doing so you can bring more awareness to it and actually start the process of being more positive in your self-talk. We get so concerned with making sure that we're super productive and that we're going at a really fast pace that we never slow down and kind of stop the lashing of ourselves in our own minds that is so detrimental to our motivation and to our goal achievement. And then oftentimes we find ourselves feeling of burnout. Maybe after 5 days you feel like, damn, like I just need to like collapse on my bed and go into like a hole. Or you start procrastinating because you're just really needing to regulate that emotion, and procrastination is a form of emotional regulation. If you feel super bad, you're going to want to procrastinate because you need to make yourself feel better. You can't just complete lots of tasks from a place of really low mood. It's really kind of hard to motivate yourself from that place. You might be thinking, okay, well, maybe I'm kind of on board, but not sure, because I really feel like if I stop being harsh to myself in my mind, I literally won't get anything done this year. Okay, so I get that. And I think we all kind of have that inclination because it's so prevalent in our culture to think like this that it's almost like, how could it not be true? But it's not, because we have so many studies to show that actually self-compassion is a more effective mindset to accomplish your goals and to achieve things. For instance, Brains and Chen found that self-compassion increases motivation. Self-compassion decreases anxiety and depression and stress, which was a study by Neff. I will link all of these studies below if you want to check them out. Also, Neff et al. Found that self-compassion actually increases wisdom and emotional intelligence, as well as Neely et al. Found that self-compassion increases greater emotional coping skills. So that's kind of related to that procrastination aspect, that if we are able to cope better emotionally, then we won't have that need to regulate our emotions through procrastination. All right, and self-compassion also increases feelings of connectedness, social connectiveness, and life satisfaction. It actually decreases self-handicapping behaviors such as procrastination. It increases diet adherence by 23% over the control group. So for those of you that are starting maybe a new diet or trying to eat more healthy in this coming year, actually using more self-compassion in your thinking, in your self-talk, would allow you to adhere to your diet in a better way than using negative self-talk or just not using self-compassion. Okay, so now I kind of want to talk about an example. So I was chatting with someone the other day, and we were talking about how she has a really hard time with her emails. So she currently has like 500 emails in her inbox, and it brings her a lot of stress in the day, and it just makes her feel so bad. And her main emotion that she was talking about when she looks at the emails is that she feels guilt. And in this guilt, she kind of doesn't really want to address the emails. She doesn't feel motivated to really conquer this project of answering all the emails, because she feels so bad about having that many emails. So with a lot of with kind of new processes, or when we're trying to establish better protocols to be more productive or just happier in our lives, we really want to think about habit change. So when we are thinking about habit change, we've all had kind of times in our lives where we've gone from kind of disliking something to having it be automatic in our lives. So I asked this person, I asked her, have you ever taken something in your life that you didn't particularly like and made it something that you just automatically do? And she said, yeah, I actually have. I started running a few years ago, and in the beginning, I just really disliked it. Like, I did not enjoy running, but eventually it became an automatic process, and now it just comes naturally to me. Like, I can wake up in the morning and just go for a run. And so we talked about this process in which she took running from being something that's difficult and to being something automatic. And these two kind of processes are very different in our brains. Essentially, one is a reflexive process and one is a deliberate process. And whenever we need to do anything deliberate, it is more costly on our brains. So that's why a lot of times creating a new habit feels tiring. You feel like there's a lot of resistance and you feel like you have to expend so much more energy to start something up. But once it becomes automatic, it becomes kind of reflexive, then it takes so much less energy to do this task. And it can even kind of be more enjoyable because it doesn't kind of take as much energy. Took running from being something that is difficult for her to do to being an automatic process. And I asked her, what kind of did she do and how did she talk to herself when she set up these goals for running? So she told me that she actually didn't set up like a quantitative goal. So if she ran anything that day, she was happy with herself. So at the end of each run, even if it was like half a mile, she was like, hey, congrats, like you did a good job. And at the same time, she also didn't chastise herself. It just wasn't a huge deal. So she knew that she felt fairly safe in this habit. So she knew if she did something, she would get kind of a reward from herself. She would say like, hey, good job, you did something. And then if she didn't accomplish this task, then she wouldn't necessarily, chastise herself or beat herself up. And so then we talked about how this habit creation differed so much from her emails. So in the emails, she really was looking to be kind of that type of inbox zero type of person. So having 0 emails was quite important. So that was the quantitative goal. So she felt that if she didn't reach 0 emails, she would not be able to feel good. She would not be able to give herself that feeling of praise, that feeling of reward, like, hey, you did a good job. So her brain knew that we're not getting anything until we reach 0. So right away we see that this task is much greater. So the kind of energy that we would need to expend to accomplish something in order to get the reward is much, much greater. And we know that if we fail, there's going to be reprimand. So she also felt that if she didn't accomplish this goal of inbox 0, she would feel quite disappointed in herself. And we talked about it a little bit more, and we found that she actually had almost like a moral attachment to not having emails. She felt that since the emails were making her feel so guilty, that she was really letting down people by not answering these emails. And by not answering these emails, she felt that almost like she I hesitate to say the words bad person, but she kind of felt like there was a moral attachment to not answering these emails that indicated that she was of potentially less value in her own appraisal of herself. So this happens sometimes when we attach our self-identity with something that's very external in ourselves, and we feel like that if I don't do X, I'm a bad person. And this can be really sneaky. You might think it right now that when you're watching this video, like, oh, I don't do this at all. But most of us do this. And I mean, it makes sense. We're very social creatures. So if you are working on a team and you know that answering emails is part of your job, and you know that it would help benefit your team for you to do this job, you start thinking, you kind of start putting those causalities together that, oh, okay, if I answered my emails, I help my team. If I help my team, then it means I'm a good person. And, like these links start to form. And the issue is that sometimes we get way too close to these tasks that we need to accomplish, and we fuse our identity with them too closely. And then the issue with this is that when we set about to complete this task of answering the 500 emails, our brain predicts that if we fail, this is a failure of self. This is essentially like a death of the good self if we do not accomplish this task. And so the stakes are high. And it makes sense why we wouldn't want to spend the energy and the motivation to accomplish this task. Because if we fail, the repercussions of failure are so great that of course we would want to avoid this. Of course. Like, why would we want to jeopardize our sense of self and our own identity of being a good person to potentially accomplish this task, even though we know it stresses us out and we know that we want to accomplish it? So the thing is, the way to get around this is to really have a lot of distance between the task and yourself, and to really focus on the fact that this task, these emails, the way that I'm thinking about them is what's assigning the meaning to them. And we can start to kind of create that distance by changing our thoughts in relation to the emails. So a lot of us, we have very kind of valenced thoughts. We either think something's very positive or very negative. So we might think like, oh my gosh, the fact that I have 500 emails means like this awful thing. So we can kind of start moving our thoughts closer to something neutral, something objective, like the 500 emails mean that I have 500 emails, which sounds a little bit silly, but we really tend to catastrophize thoughts in our heads, and finding those kind of catastrophizing thoughts, they can feel very real in the moment, but it's very important to kind of really make them more neutral and just understand that the emails are just emails and it's okay. And they don't really mean anything. They mean what you want them to mean. And what I would encourage for you to do is to really make them mean what is most useful to you. So this might sound a little bit out there, but you could actually even think 500 emails means that a lot of people need to reach me, like a lot of people want to talk to me. And the only reason I say this is because I think that thought would elicit more motivation, and it would make you feel more energized and less resistant toward the emails. So we're really deep into this email example, but I think it's a good one because a lot of us do get stressed out by this. Another thing I wanted to say on this topic is that I know a lot of you out there are perfectionists, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna start trying to be self-compassionate with yourself all the time. And by doing this, you're gonna eventually come to a moment where you fail at being self-compassionate, and then you're gonna reprimand yourself for failing to be self-compassionate. And you might laugh, but this is something that's really common. And so in this kind of perfectionist mindset, you need to be really, really careful. So what I tell my clients to do is when you start a new kind of tool or technique, like you're trying to be more self-compassionate, you're trying to establish a habit, what you really want is you don't want to focus on the percentage. You don't want to think like, I'm going to do 100%, I'm going to get an A+. What you want is more to think about it like I'm collecting moments of self-compassion. And I use this example. So imagine yourself like in a forest, right? And you have a basket and you're foraging for fruit, you're picking blueberries. And so you find a bunch of bushes and it's great. And so you're just picking the blueberries and you filled your basket, you have enough blueberries. And you're not gonna reprimand yourself for not picking all the blueberries, right? Like you didn't fail at picking blueberries because you didn't pick all of them. What you did is you filled your basket with blueberries. And any type of new habit or new technique that you're using, you should think about it that way, because it will allow you to be more failure proof and it'll allow you to be more consistent in establishing this new habit or this new mindset. And so now with the self-compassion, just try to collect moments of self-compassion and you will see a lot of positive effects in your life. And those, in collecting as many moments as you can, you just focus on, having those experiences of self-compassion, not worrying when you're not the most self-compassionate to yourself. Okay, I hope you guys like this video. Really be kind to yourself, especially in this new year. And I will see you guys next time. And if you like these videos, please subscribe.